All right, Grayed Out Podcast fans. It is lucky episode number 13. Lucky episode 13. And welcome to the graceless hell our society is becoming right before our eyes. Holy cow. Welcome to the society where it's better to half listen and fully destroy anyone who dares say a dumb thing. I could be next. You could be next. Anyone could be next here in the midst of the cancel culture games. It's our own 21st century version. Well, I guess it would be a pre-version of the Hunger Games. Except no one wants to be tribute. And the only thing you win is being demoralized. Losing your job. Possibly, I don't know, much more, being shunned into oblivion. That's kind of what we're dealing with. Anyways, it's the Grayed Out Podcast. I'm Jay the Gray. Remember, if you're here for the first time or you are listening in as a regular listener or watching on YouTube, remember to like and share. Get the word out if you like what you're hearing. Make sure you subscribe on the YouTube channel or subscribe iTunes, Spotify. I feel like I'm saying good things. Maybe I'm not. I don't know. But some people are listening. I see the analytics. I'm an analytics nerd. I watch the analytics. I see it. The other thing is I am, once again, just out here saying I am a proud affiliate of my brothers over at Live Bearded. Taking care of the beard on the face is essential. I get so many guys that ask, well, how do you get it there? Because I can't get it past itchy. I get all that. I'm like, you've got to beard-educate yourself. Right? Not beard-educate yourself. You've got to get out there, get some good product. The Live Bearded product is really good. It's all natural, good for your skin, good for the beard, good for the hair. Like, it's just good products. And if you go over there now and you put in the promo code GRAYED-OUT-BEARD, that's GRAYED out beard, Grayed Out Beard, you get 10% off your order. Get yourself some products for your beard, or if you know a bearded fella or a bearded lady, right? I would assume that a bearded woman needs beard care as well. So there you go. All right, we're diving in. Tonight we're talking about the circular stupidity of cancel culture, because the phenomena of cancel culture these days is blowing my mind. And I realize, right, the tagline for the podcast is news events opinion for the politically homeless. And let me just say, as someone who's politically homeless and who's a political nomad, I watch the cancel culture games with just abject shock on my face. This is where we are. This is what we've come to, that if you say something dumb, it's not just that you're going to be disagreed with, called a name. The risk is that you will lose that which you worked for, while everyone who disagrees for you cheers on the destruction and demoralization of your life. So, what could be possibly worse than cancel culture? Revenge cancel culture, right? Because that's where we are now. So here's how this all started, okay? Cancel culture was actually really invented by and used widely by the religious right into the 80s and early 90s, right? They came out against all kinds of crazy stuff. Teletubbies, canceled, right? They were angry about everything. I've known Christians like that. We will not go to Disneyland because Disney hires gay people. And I'm like, okay, we could discuss all day long what the Bible says about homosexuality. We could but everyone needs a job. And if Disney's hiring people, that's good. Why would you not? Disneyland's amazing. It's fun. It's a great time. And if you're boycotting Disney and Disney movies, there are deeper problems going on. It's one of those things. So anyways, cancel culture, religious right. They wielded it as a weapon. They were canceling Disney. They were canceling craft products. They just continued to cancel everything. And then it kind of went silent as, more and younger Christians, right? I was at one point, I know right now, started saying, I don't think this is a really wise way to interact with the world. And we started kind of saying that, the government and the things that companies do in our society aren't necessarily going to be driven by these biblical tenets that you guys keep screaming about. So maybe we should stop because pretty much either you're going to starve to death or you're going to start farming. Either that's fine. Just go start farming. But then what happened was it changed course, and recently it had become a hallmark of the very progressive left, right? If you say something online that the progressive left disagreed with, you were likely to be canceled. So celebrities, canceled. Social figures, canceled. Just random people, canceled. You disagree with me, I'm going to work on every possible facet of life that I can make you miserable, and I'm going to try and get you canceled. I'm going to get your business shut down. I'm going to get you harassed at home. Like, I did a brief, like, on the, when we vilify people, but this is like strictly cancel culture. So it became a hallmark of the progressive left, and this was on campuses. People were coming to speak at campuses and just getting this is where the whole thing became called, right, cancel culture, because everything was getting actually canceled, right? Speakers coming, canceled, right? All kinds of different reasons, but largely because someone coming to a college campus might say something offensive. And if we deem it offensive, then it's probably hateful. And if it's hateful, then it's hate speech. And if it's hate speech, our ears cannot bear to hear it. Which just makes me scratch my head and go, well, what on earth are you doing at college? Have our colleges kind of become an echo chamber of singular group thought? Because they really kind of have. Like, there are not a lot of people coming out of universities these days with a lot of critical thought. They all kind of think in one line, and that's a problem for us as a society. Okay, that really is. If you think it's not, step back for a second. And what happens when all of those thoughts lined up go in the wrong direction? Then what? And you're the one lone voice in the minority screaming in dissent. You're just going to be drowned out. And then all hope is lost, right? So a variety of voices, dissent, healthy debate, discussion. These are things society needs, right? These are the tenets of freedom and free speech that we so love. But the problem is now we've tried to add on an unofficial addendum to the First Amendment that says, well, yeah, free speech unless it offends somebody, or we disagree with it, or we think that it's rooted in something hateful or spiteful. The problem is that's so subjective that now you have an entire cultural phenomena happening where if anyone says something, and it could be just as simple as saying something stupid in the moment, thinking you're being funny when you're not. And the next thing you know, you say something offensive. And rather than people go, man, that was offensive and stupid, you really shouldn't have done that, people lose their jobs. Thousands of people write into a company and tell them they're going to stop supporting or patronizing their business. They're going to start a national campaign. And the problem is people begin to think somehow Twitter is now real life. And so if you go on Twitter and tweet a bunch of things and a bunch of people pile on, right, at least, a few thousand, 10,000, 20,000, you can get a company to fire somebody or change a marketing plan. And it's like, that's not power. That's not power being used wisely, at least. That's just mob rule running around pointing at things going, that's not good, that's not good, I don't like that, that offends me, that offends me, that offends me. And there again, because it's so subjective, there's no rails on this thing. We're just running around as a society, and here's where it gets worse. So, right, we've seen this from the progressive left. Now it's swung back around, and this is what's hysterical. It's like everyone is like getting targeted. So now, right, we see, right, let's go back a few weeks ago, you have the notorious Karen, right, because that's the new Karen, Amy Cooper in Central Park calling the police on, oh my gosh, I can't remember Damien, I think it was Damien Cooper. Not related, obviously. So she threatens to call the police, and she calls police and says there's a black man who's threatening me. And she uses that, right, in an emotional state. She's just really like, it's stupid and it's racist. And it's like, it's at least prejudice, emotional, stupid, right, at best. At worst, it's freaking racist. So that's like the two things. So she suddenly becomes the target of the cancel campaign. She gets fired from her job and everyone's cheering. Yeah! Bad racist person, lose your job. You deserve that. You said a bad thing. You did a bad thing. And I realized that situation might be unique, right? But then there was another video a couple weeks later where this guy, I can't remember, he's on social media and he's kind of been outed as sort of a douche canoe. So let's just be honest, right? He's not someone who's actually looking to live life and get. He's looking to create situations, and I can't remember the guy. I will link it somewhere around here. But he followed a woman who he said, now he didn't have video of her flipping him off and calling him the N-word, but he followed her to her apartment, pinned her in against the gate, like her car, like blocked her car in, and like got out, immediately filming her in her face. And he's like, you know, all these things. And he's like in her face, and she's like freaking out because she knows how this will go because of what happens on social media. And she's having a literal panic attack, crying, trying to cover license plate. And everyone's like, yeah, cancel that Karen. Cancel her. Because she cut someone off, bad driving. Like that's that. There again, the standard shifts and we make anything we want to be offensive enough. Then suddenly that person gets in the crosshairs and boom, we're going to cancel them. And everyone on the conservative side of everything is screaming how this is ridiculous and it's stupid and oh my gosh, this can't be happening this way. This just is not the way it's supposed to go. And along comes Stab Girl. We're just going to call her Stab Girl because I can't remember her name. I will also link her story somewhere, either up here, around here, or at least in the notes. Stab Girl got famous off TikTok. TikTok. Man, nothing will make you feel old than trying to keep up with the ever-shifting platforms of social media. And what's in and what's out, and where people are now becoming famous, right? There was Diply, then there was Musical.ly, then there was something else, and now there's TikTok. And you make TikToks, and everywhere I go, there are people making TikToks. My daughter, TikToks. It's like, for crying out loud. I now tried to do my very best to photobomb the TikToks, or TikTok bomb the that just sounds wrong. Anyway, I try to make sure that I like at least lean in and like, do the dad thing. It's my right as a father to do this, to disrupt the TikTok. I'm a TikTok disruptor. That's who I am. Anyway, so this girl, Stab Girl, she goes on the TikTok and she has an irate rant about people saying all lives matter. And she tries to make an analogy. And she proceeds to make one of the dumbest, most threatening analogies in the world. And she says, if I hear anyone saying all lives matter, I'm going to stab them. Whoa. Hold up. What? I'm sorry. And then she goes on further. So it's not like she just said, I'm going to stab him as a joke, right? Because, I'm going to stab him. I'm going to cut him. Whatever. No. It gets worse. She then describes that after she stabs them, she'll watch them bleed out, give herself a paper cut and point it out and go, oh, look, all cuts matter. And so this clearly offended some people on the conservative side of things. So they started figuring out who she was. They got her information. They started calling around, and she had gotten a job, a pretty prestigious job. Again, I'll link the story down here. So I've linked to it from another. I'm just linking things. I'm just repeating what I've heard. It's my job. She had a job, a pretty prestigious job lined up, and the company decided that because of all of the issues surrounding her TikTok fame, based on stabbing and bleeding out people. They were not going to hire her anymore, so she lost her prestigious job. And then she proceeded to put out another video in which she was woeful and tearful and just, beside herself. And of course, did she learn the lesson of you shouldn't go online on the social media and say you're going to stab people and watch them bleed out? Nope. That was not the lesson learned. And here's what the horrifying, untold truths of cancel culture are. No one's learning the lesson. They're only saying the other people who don't like me did this to me. I didn't do it to myself by what I said or my actions or anything. What they're learning is their political opponents have vilified them and gotten them fired, gotten them canceled, gotten them basically maligned in society to the degree that they're so famous that they walk somewhere outside, they will be accosted because of their now new internet cancel fame of being a horrible person. That's where we are as a society. Sign me up, said no one ever. This is what happens, okay? And I'm just going to say this very plainly. This is what happens now that we have raised a generation of children on participation prizes. No one gets their feelings hurt. No one loses. No one has to put in the effort. Everyone wins. Everyone's special. Everyone's just as good as everyone else at everything. And the entitlement that comes along with that leaves people believing that no matter what, their opinions are correct because they're their opinions, and that if they are offended by something, they are entitled to have it removed and not to hear it, rather than not listen or engage or walk away or decide what to do with the information themselves. They would rather have the information stifled, silenced, muted, obliterated, and the person responsible for the information canceled. This is not how it's supposed to be. So now we have both sides, right? Now we don't have cancel culture anymore. Now we have vengeance-based cancel culture. Oh, you've canceled people from our political ideology. We're going to make sure we cancel people from your political ideology every chance we get. And now it's a back and forth of cancellations, and no one is safe. And everyone's starting to even eat their own. When you watch social media, you watch certain people tweet out what seem to be, just be straightforward, common sense sayings. Common sense thoughts, non-offensive, something akin to, can't we all just get along? Rodney King, right? Can't we all just get along? No. Rodney King today would be canceled for saying, can't we all just get along? Nope. And that's part of the issue. And it's going back to last week talking about freedom and how important the pursuit of freedom is for others. That means freedom of speech, and that means the freedom of someone else to speak in a manner or speak things or opinions or truths that may offend you. And if you're so weak-minded and fearful that your truth is so shaky that someone else's opinion that contradicts your truth, you cannot stand it, and you'd rather have them canceled than engage in conversation or just say, I disagree, you're free to live your life. And there's a real problem here. And so now, thanks to Stab Girl and Karens, right, which sound like a horrible, super villain pairing, and it kind of is when you think about it, right? They're these mainstay caricatures of cancel culture in the current state. And I realize I have a very narrow audience presently, but man, if ever I could do something that would go at minimal semi-viral, maybe even quasi-viral, it would be this. We have got to stop. We have got to throw the e-brake on this thing so hard. I mean, like, so much stopping right now. This has got to stop. Where people are saying common sense things and they are literally being shouted down by the fringe voices. I mean, we're talking about this, like, a small percentage of very loud people that are driving lots of social media direction. They're driving so much noise that everyone's forced to believe this is actually mainstream thought, and it's not. And people like me that are sitting in this sort of centrist, middle, moderate, politically homeless position, we're sort of trying to take it in, speak where we can, but it's almost impossible because of the level of noise. And the fear that goes along with it, that if you say something in contradiction to the mob, whatever side the mob is on, you could pay for that with your career, with your livelihood, with like people accosting you in public because they see your face and it's been all over the internet and you've been deemed this awful, horrible, shunned, canceled person who did something awful to their people, and they're going to come tell you about it. And tell me I'm wrong. I just had a friend the other day where we live. Her mom, right? Her mom, who's an adult person, her mom wanted to go out to celebrate her birthday, her 85th birthday. Now, she's a senior citizen. We live in a county in California that is pretty much like, our infection rate's been very low. We've had new cases, but our death rate is crazy low. And this woman, who's an adult person, right? Yes, she's a senior citizen, but she's an adult person. She can make her own determinations. She asked to go out to an open-air store and restaurant to have lunch for her birthday, where the servers then commented openly and repeatedly about how awful it was that my friend had her mom out. Then, when they got done with their, I would assume, very lackluster meal and experience there, they decided to go out. This restaurant is attached to a store that has a garden and fountains. They wanted to go sit and see the fountains. This is what the mom wanted. It's her birthday. So this my friend, her daughter, being a good daughter, said, all right, we'll walk out to the garden. We'll listen to the fountains. And standing out there in the far reaches of the garden by themselves, their family, they were not wearing their masks. And a woman made her way all the way across the garden center to them and yelled at them about how horrible they were, horrible people for having this elderly woman out, how insensitive and stupid they were, and so don't tell me that people don't accost people in public. Like, these were complete strangers, and this happened. So this is not some sort of like bizarro, no, you're talking about crazy. We see it on TV when people see people they don't like that are public figures politically. They won't even let them finish a meal in peace. They're not even entitled to that much civility. You don't even get to finish a meal in this restaurant. We're going to stand here and yell at you. Like, that's somehow going to make things better. That just like that, those kinds of things, they blow my mind. And so I'm telling you, for people that are in the middle, we've got to start demand seems like a demand seems like such a harsh term, but man, it's pretty much where we're at. We've got to start demanding that this come to an end, because there's no sense to it. We're literally turning social media into real life, and people are basically getting blocked and removed and thrown out, and it's just that simple and no consideration because, they said something I didn't like. So of course they deserve to lose their job. Of course they deserve to lose their livelihood. Of course they deserve all of this social outcastness that we could throw on them. But do they? So my question is always this. What happens when you say something stupid? if you're a big fan of this and you think people deserve it. What happens when you say something stupid that someone captures and suddenly you become interwebs famous for saying something stupid and they're coming for you? Are you still a fan? No. And you can say, well, that doesn't seem... Really? Is it that far-fetched? Because that's the question everyone's asking. Is it that far-fetched? We're seeing this over and over and over again and play out in life where people are getting like their lives just torn up for being foolish in a moment. And I don't know how that can really, we've got to do something better. So what are our hard truths for tonight, man? One of the things we've got to recognize that there are very small groups of really loud people controlling the narrative, and we are buying it, and we've got to stop buying what they're selling. We've got to stop buying what they're selling, because the aim is to divide. The aim is to continue screeching as loud as possible about the other side. And this part is not a one side. This is a both side issue. The fringes of both sides are screaming, and all that they want are to continue the division and hopefully recruit people to their way of thinking, to their side, to their team, so they can bolster their numbers. And they're not offering solutions. When you start to listen to all the screeching, there's no solutions. It's just the problems. They're just screaming about the problems and blaming the problems on the other side. And clearly that side created the problems. Our side did not. So be on our side, because those people are evil or whatever they are. And it's just not the way. So here's the hardest truth I'm gonna speak tonight, okay? And this is coming straight from my heart. You and we are not guaranteed the right to be unoffended. That is not a guaranteed right. You do not have the right to be unoffended. Think about that. There are offensive things all over this world. There are people saying things that we disagree with. Some of them may be very offensive. And I find it quite amazing in the course of recent history, when certain people are offended by things, they're told to pound sand, shut up, and deal with it. And when other people say they're offended by things, people try to move heaven and earth to make sure those things are taken care of. There's an inequity in what offends in our society, and that's not cool. Everyone has equal access to offense, and no one has the right to be unoffended. In fact, I'm going to take this to a quote from Jordan Peterson when he was on Real Time with Bill Maher, and I'm going to link that in the. I'll probably, since I'm talking about it here, I'll mark the time and I'll say, all right, I'm going to pop it up here. It'll be in the notes as well. On Bill Maher, Jordan Peterson, who's a psychologist from Canada, wrote the book 12 Rules for Life, which I'm actually currently reading and enjoying so far. It's a little heady, so. If you want a heady read, that's one for you. Jordan Peterson was invited on to Real Time with Bill Maher. He came out and they began talking about political correctness and what's going on in the current society. And the idea of being offensive. And Jordan Peterson said this: if you're talking about difficult issues and thinking about that, you're bound to be offensive. In other words, he said, if you're having a discussion surrounding problems that exist, you're already in a state of trying to resolve things, you're bound to be offensive if you're thinking. You're bound, if you're coming up with ideas or saying things or pointing things out or asking questions and really trying to discuss matters, you're bound to be offensive. Think about that. You're bound to be. Eventually, you're going to touch on something, and it's not for the sake of offense. It's for the sake of driving at the root of what you're trying to resolve. Further into the conversation, talking about political correctness, Bill Maher said because of his show in the 90s, Politically Incorrect, he had to answer the question, how do you define political correctness? He said this: it's the elevation of sensitivity over truth. That's Bill Maher's definition. It's the elevation of sensitivity over truth. Peterson says, well, it's really evolved into or morphed into the elevation of moral posturing about sensitivity over truth. And if that's not the truest statement of cancel culture, I don't know what is. That to me says everything you could possibly need. Cancel culture, the new political correctness, the new outrage is literally moral posturing about sensitivity. It's the elevation of moral. So it's this raising up of moral posturing about sensitivity over truth. That's we've got to hear that. We've got to hear that. And we as a culture have lost the art of being able to fully hear, think about, and rebut arguments that we dislike. We just scream that we don't like it. It's evil. Make it go away. I've heard so many times, right? All conservatives are racist. Anyone who thinks that way is racist, and they're Nazis and they're fascists, blah, 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 right? Anyone who's a liberal, anyone who's a Democrat, anyone who's a progressive, right? They're just a bunch of Marxist, communist, America-hating, right? That's it. That's the argument. And those are the talking points. As it just gets lobbed back and forth. And it's not helping. So it's just creating this kind of toxicity in our culture where we can't talk about things without being so incredibly sensitized to every little thing I disagree. And then if you have counter thoughts, or you're arguing, you're like a covert whatever, arguing the other side. You're a troll, right? I've been called a troll for offering argument about why this, what about this, what about this? Has anyone considered this? Oh, you're a troll. No, gosh dang it, I want people to critically think about the things that they are doing and saying, because so many people argue out of emotion, they forget what is true and what is not, and as though it doesn't matter. And we've got to put an end to that. So, all right, the whole idea of this is that we've just literally created this monster, and it's starting to eat everybody. It literally is like Frankensteins Monster, where at first it's kind of like it's okay with, or I don't know, you pick your horror show where I don't know, the Gremlins, right? Mogwai, a little cute, and then it gets wet and everything's fine until they eat after midnight, and it's like, holy cow, right? Or they get wet, they got wet, and then they're eating everybody in the whole town. So that's kind of cancel culture right there. It starts very innocently, and the people that are on the side of getting the person canceled are all together like, yes, that's a win. And then it just starts circularly eating itself and devouring inward. And it's going to eat everything and everyone that it comes in contact with, because everyone can say something offensive, be stupid in a moment, trying to be whatever. And I don't know. I could go on, but I'll start talking in circles. It's late. But this is lucky episode number 13, so I had to do this. It's a Monday evening. Here, it's just after the 4th of July. We're trying to pursue freedoms for everyone. That includes freedom of speech. That means freedom to be offensive. And you don't have the freedom not to be offended. I mean, you have the freedom not to be offended or be offended, but you don't have the right to prevent someone from offending you. You just have to either choose to be offended, choose not to be offended, take it in stride and deal with it. Grow a little thicker skin. Be a little more constructive thinker, and stop trying to cancel everybody. For crying out loud. All right. That's tonight's episode. Again, if you've liked what you've heard, subscribe, share, hit the bell for notifications so you'll know when things are coming out. Once again, thanks to my brotherhood over at Live Bearded, who helped me take care of the mane on my face. I got great all-natural products for you if you've got a beard, or if you know someone who's got a beard, you can get them some for their favorite holiday, birthday, whatever, for no reason. Maybe you just like them and you want to see them take care of their beard better. If you go over to livebearded.com, you put in the promo code GRAYEDOUTBEARD, you get 10% off your purchase. So tell the guys over there, Jay the Gray sent you. I am Jay the Gray. This has been the 13th episode of the Grayed Out Podcast, and you've been grayed out.